Yeah, we've finished the All-Star weekend, wrapped up a couple of hours ago, and I don't know about you, but I'm ready to put up about 100 different takes.
Why not
Um,
make it 200 different takes?
let's just go.
What's
Let's.
number one? What's the first take, Nick?
Well, I think I'm gonna. What are we gonna do? I'm gonna say this out loud, and then we'll work our way through the weekend because I think I have something that I want to get off my chest, and then we'll work through the events because it'll come through naturally. Maybe we're just too old to enjoy All-Star Weekend. All right. So that's going to be before we even go through the events, what I'm going to say here is, you know, being in my 30s now, watching All Star Weekend for almost like 15, 20 years, it was so cool as a kid, right? It's like, oh, like they played the All Star game, they scored like 150 points. Oh, did you see that one dunk? Did you see that alley oop? Did you see the dunk contest? Oh my God, they won the 3-point contest. Oh, the celebrity game. It's also exciting as a kid. And year after year and year after year, you get new celebrities, you get new dunkers, you get new shooters, you get new all stars. And it is the same thing. And they've done a couple of things to rejig it. But maybe what we're getting now is the same product we've been getting for 20 years. The only difference is I've been getting it for 20 years. It's not new to me anymore. It's not exciting. It's not new. And I don't know what you're supposed to do to fix it. But you feel like you're older than me, but you feel like I'm being too cynical already. So
I'm gonna totally disagree with your take here. You obviously bring in some ageism here. I don't know. I know those 70-year-olds that watch YouTube, which is like no one, is clearly gonna come up in arms here with your take. But um, I think, and this is a real broad one, and I guess we're gonna chat about each event and break it down, a little bit about each event and our thoughts on it. But I think there's a bigger picture here, something that I sort of realizing. This is my own personal opinion, okay, is that this is a byproduct of what basketball has become. It's not that we've got too much of it and we've had, you've had 25 years of basketball now, and I've had 35 years of basketball now. It is simply the evolution of basketball and maybe sports to a greater extent of what it's become. And it's become an situation when it doesn't matter, no one cares. No one tries. And this is a weekend that actually doesn't matter to the players. And that's probably a lot of it has been supported with our comments. In fact, I think Ant Edwards said something like, I don't really care because it's just a fun weekend. Yeah, and if you're just going there for the fun weekend and clearly not trying to get injured, not trying to have a season ruining injury for the second half of the remaining games for the second half of this season, to your teams are hopefully probably playing for the playoffs or maybe even a finals contender, all right, sort of situation. Why would you care? Now, maybe the greater question here is to ask is like in the 80s, 90s, whatever, 2000s, why didn't anyone think like that? But maybe this is the part where it's simply an evolution of the game based upon evolution of how society is nowadays. Man, we want to cotton wool and band-aid every single thing. Man. We want to be politically correct in every single aspect of terminology and whatnot. Yeah, you can't have a brand that may offend a minority group because it referenced something from hundreds of years ago that may be perceived in that way. And here we got this NBA All-Star game that the players don't care. They don't get hurt. They're there out there because we like to see them on the court. But this ain't no real game.
I feel like you've been drinking from the coffee that I normally drink from. That was a rant. That was a societal implication of culture and social economics. Holy moly. Um,
You're
I
saying
think
you're saying we're sick of the All Star game. I'm saying that the All Star game has just turned to some sort of fake game.
I think I think what you're saying though kind of reiterates what I was saying. We can't fix it, right? And we're going to break down each of the events and we're going to talk about some things that we think, hey, maybe we could do this next time. But I don't think you can fix it, probably because of what you referenced, along with what I've referenced. The dunk contest has run out of dunks, right? I'm sure there's something new that they could do, etc. But we have to acknowledge that they don't want
Wrong.
to get injured.
Wrong.
They're not going to injure. They're not going to injure themselves. But you're also talking about Jay. Like no one wants to watch people miss, and there's also I don't want to go. I won't go into the
Are
dunk
we
contest
starting
stuff
with a
yet.
dunk contest, man?
No, 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 no. We got
Oh,
to go in order. So
well,
let's go Friday night.
is this your
Let's go Friday
OCD in
night.
order? What's in order? What's first, man? Let's go
We
in
want to
order.
because this is easy to section up. Okay,
Fine. What's in
let's go
order?
Friday night. We're gonna start with a celebrity game, right? I don't know if you watched any of the highlights of it. There's two main things that come out of this. Number one, who are those celebrities? I don't know what happened to the day of like Kevin Hart and like actual former NBA players. but that was a very confusing mix of celebrities. I'm not American though, so maybe that's why
Mm,
I'm out of
mm.
touch. And B, the amount of random scoring rules, double points, 4 point line, etc. stuff, um, just just so hard to follow. And Richard Jefferson even made a point of it that like you have to understand the rules. I did not understand the rules. It made my viewing experience very difficult because I'm looking at people, I don't know who that is, and I'm looking at the scores and I don't understand what's going on. But you tell me what your thoughts were on the celebrity game.
Well, my thoughts are limited to I didn't care. And I didn't really care when Kevin Hart used to play in the All-Star game, because probably Kevin Hart was like the only player that actually knew who who was on the floor, what he sort of has on his resume. And you're absolutely right. I do not. I had a look at the list of names on this year's celebrity game, and I did not recognize. I'm gonna almost say less than 10% of the names, if even 10%, and I was like not interested to switch on. That's just what it is. So again, maybe if they're trying to get viewership from outside Australia, well, clearly it's going to be those guys that like to, stay glued to their Instagram feeds and, maybe under 25 or whatnot age bracket. But I don't fit in either category right now, nor am I in the US. So I guess you've lost me as a viewer that has any interest in your All-Star game, in your celebrity All-Star game.
So, what I'm going to do, because I think maybe the way we structure this is we critique it and then we maybe pitch a solution. I was watching that celebrity game thinking, we're talking about NBA All Star Weekend. Why aren't we just using former NBA players as the celebrity? And then you think about it, and I'm sure there's issues with this, but the Big Three League to me feels like a great chance to showcase their talent and their names on that Friday night. Because when you're talking about former NBA players in the Big Three, I'm not sure how much you followed that, but that's where you actually have people who played in the NBA now playing this
Mm,
3v3
mm,
variant,
mm,
something different, right? Celebrities of NBA, not random celebrities, but celebrities of NBA to open the night, showcase a different league, a new product. We saw some cross promotion with the WNBA, which we'll touch on soon. But that
Well,
would be almost what I'd put in the
what are we
celebrity
taking this? If this taking this as a wish list for a celebrity game, why not just open it up to the
100%.
world?
No, no, no.
Why are we
I'm
not?
going.
No, what I'm saying is that I would like to see from a wish
Oh,
list
okay.
perspective. Why would we not open up to celebrities around the world? Why not have a celebrities if you want to have a US celebrities versus world celebrities like that US world sort of format they played in the past? And then now, I don't know. Imagine you got say, oh, I'll pick a name out there. Say like Messi came down and shoot around basketball. Wow. Like, you'd probably be like, can this guy play? You'd probably check that out. Whether that's part of, his contract or he's got any interest to participate or not, that's a whole nother question. But we're talking about a wish list scenario here. So now you're picking, say, 12 world celebrities, okay, from different areas around the world, man. I don't know. Like, let's say from Australia, I don't know, pick a footy player, man. Who do we like? I don't know, bring Dusty Martin down there. Imagine Dusty Martin played in the NBA All-Star game, right? Like, it'd be like Australia play a guy like, oh, there'll be a news article on that on news.com.au. Yeah.
No, you're not wrong. I think you know what. Just to sum it all up neatly, because we can't spend this much time on the celebrity game. I think your analysis. We're gonna probably. I reckon this point's going to come up a lot. It's about money. Why would I fly out to Indianapolis to play in an All Star game unless you're offering me a good amount of money? If I get hurt, how does that impact my money? And if I look silly playing basketball, how does that impact my money? I think people are so brand conscious and dependent on their brand that they have to make very sensible, safe decisions. And I think playing in an All Star game where you could accidentally hurt a competitor, accidentally hurt, say, a female if the females play again, those kind of things just look bad. That a celebrity just doesn't want to risk it anymore. And you know what? I reckon your PC comment is probably right in this sense. It's just not worth going out playing a basketball game, taking it too seriously. You look like a loser, right? Being terrible or trash, you look like a
Haven't you
loser.
seen the?
I don't know how you win in that scenario.
When I was still on Instagram, there's that clip that goes around that it's like some guy playing some girl like one on one, and then it's like if you play hard against her, you're a loser. Yeah, but if you take it easy against her and she scores and you're a loser, you can't win, right? You're like
No, you
you're
can't
screwed.
win.
How do you play someone of the opposite gender in today's 2024 world? What's acceptable? Please give me a book here on instructions. What's
I'm not
.
for my own brand. I'm not touching this, man. Let's go on to the rookie stuff. So, I don't know about you. obviously, I think Wemby versus Chet should have been rigged by the league. I think that would have been a really exciting final. But I like this format. This is a new format where they play four teams and they basically do a final four bracket. They play to a target score, so there's a tiny bit of like pressure to be competitive. I like the format. I think it's always going to be dependent on the quality of players and games that you get on that night. And obviously, the final was a bit of a blowout. But I personally really like how Friday night on the rookie and sophomore side thing goes. But you tell me.
Did Benedict Mathurin win MVP because
Yep.
he had a good first round game?
Yeah, he's from Indiana. Okay, it's called a narrative, and they're pushing it. I'm surprised Tyrese didn't get the MVP today.
Like, um, look, man, I'm taking a moment here to gather my thoughts because, I feel like I keep using the words like boring, fake, disinterested. Apply all those three words to this rookie sophomore showcase as well because I must say I have fallen into that category too. Now people are probably wondering why I'm even talking about basketball because clearly this guy doesn't even like basketball.
You just
But
hate it.
but I work as a basketball coach. I'm clearly wearing basketball attire, and I spend enough time talking about basketball every week. But I'm so hating against it. But I think it's again, it's a rejigged format. Great, you're playing a target score. Yes, you can play through to then. You obviously have to advance through to a grand final, I guess, in that sort of sense. Um, look, if you were going to give it sort of a star rating, I'll give it 3 stars, which is probably more than the actual All-Star game got. But I don't know what else I got to add to it.
No, look, I think especially with a G League dedicated team, excluding Mac McClung, nobody knew who those guys were. Maybe Amani Bates gets a bit of a shout out, but with the target score, the same issue exists with the target score as the All Star game does. It doesn't get serious until it gets down to the wire. And this is my suggestion because wish listing things here. What if in the All Star game, to speed it up a little bit, so you could extend the score target beyond 40 to make sure it's a nice, reasonable number? But what if this is where you do your gimmicky, you get extra points for dunks, you get points for blocking or stealing the ball? So there's an incentive to play defense that's contributing to the overall end result. Something, because you don't have to play conventional basketball here. That's the thing. So what if Wemby, every time he blocks it, that's 1 point for his team? And so then there's a little bit of a consciousness that he's going to try a little bit more in defense, and the offense isn't going to just chuck up something stupid for the sake of it.
I feel like that's a really reactive sort of suggestion. It's like when, the settlers came to Australia, then they felt we had a pest problem, so we brought the foxes to fix them, and then the foxes then took over Australia, then we had to find something to fix the foxes, and then that took over Australia. It didn't really work. And maybe this is what has happened over the course of decades of being reactive to a fairly basic and simple sport that we all began playing many years ago that was really quite simple. If we're gonna gimmick the game, even in a like a rookie sophomore showcase where you're getting points for blocks and like chatter about the 4 point shot and so on and so forth, I think this is where you dilute the game that we all love. And I know when I don't play competitively anymore, I haven't played since COVID, came along. So that was a few years ago. But I know a lot of my personal gripes was that how the game has changed over the years, how it's officiated, and what the expectations are. Obviously, we're not talking about that. We're getting 4 point shots instituted into the junior or senior leagues at any point soon at this point. But it's just like if you keep tinkering with a game that is what it is, then you keep changing your expectations. It's like a, I don't know, I'm always gonna use this word now. It's like drugs, man. You always gotta keep trying to get that nice high, next hit. Yeah, you're trying to make this year was better than next, so now next year needs to be better than that year, and then that year has to be better than that year because now we're gonna add a 5 point shot. Where do we go, man? Where do we stop?
We definitely stopped taking the drugs. I tell you what. Feels like, wow, okay, you're cooking today. Well, let's move to Saturday then. Maybe you're gonna feel better about Saturday. I don't know.
Do I look like
So
a
I
guy
guess
that's gonna feel any better? Bring
uh,
this guy back, bring this black guy back, and we'll be okay for Saturday, I
okay,
think, right?
all right, all right, all right. So Saturday night we'll go in order. So even though the skills event was spread out, we'll just talk about the skills event
Yep,
as a whole.
yep.
They do three different events. They
Yeah.
do a like I guess course that we're quite accustomed to.
Mm.
That used to be the only thing. Then they do like a passing game that accumulates scores, and then they do a shooting game that accumulates scores. Um, no one looked like they really cared about that one. Uh,
Wait, is that
it,
a question? Because like was Ant Edwards shooting with his offhand and bricking them?
and Edwards did shoot left-handed. Scotty Barnes fell into the crowd.
He went the
Most of
wrong
them kept
direction
going.
too, did he not?
And so, but so did Paolo. I think I don't know how. I actually don't know how you do it. I think when they used to race against someone and there was an active, like you weren't relying on analyzing a time to figure out who's better. That was probably a system that I don't know why they went away from. But the skills challenge, I don't know how you fix the skills challenge. It's not an interesting concept to do. The course needs to be longer if you want to milk it more. But the passing drill is awful, and the shooting drill is awful. I
I think um, I'm gonna make a suggestion here, which is in line with what I've sort of said all take so far, right? Keep things simple. The skills challenge. I was watching a little bit of the clips there, and I was like, what are these windmills going in front of the player trying to achieve? Is that like a defender with their
Yep.
fluoro glowing, arms, and like is this supposed to distract them? And obviously they've got the glass court this year, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. And all these little things, but I don't know about you, man. Why not just take some classic games like I don't know, horse, and just have players play against each other in some sort of basketball format? Well, like, surely you'd see some just creativity, classic competitiveness because it's a classic game. Yeah, you know what it is versus what's this? You're an NBA player, you're a basketball player, you've turned up here, oh, mate, you got to go this way, turn left, go there, shoot over the windmill arms. Like, what? Like, I don't know, man. I think to me, that would be my suggestion. If you want to take that skills challenge, keep it simple, keep it to basketball, simple games. But of course, have them competitive. But yeah, me and you play horse, man. We get competitive as crazy, right? No doubt. No one wants to be horse.
I just think the easiest way to frame it, the easiest fix, doesn't matter if they pick horse, doesn't matter if they just keep the skills challenge. You actually just need to see people competing at the same time. It is not fun to watch them run through a course. Like when you're watching them, I'm sure you did this too. When you watch them run through the course, you don't know if they're quicker or slower than their opponent until the score basically comes through, right? It's like, oh, Trey Young did it in 23 seconds. Well, I need to wait until Tyrese finishes before I can say, oh, yeah, he was faster than Trey. Whereas when they're racing each other at the same time, you at least get that visual feedback instantaneous, and then it's more exciting. They might do a knockout as well. There are options. The skills challenge ain't it. Now we're going to talk about the 3-point shootout. I'm worried I'm skipping an event.
Dude, man, you're the one that must go in order. You tell me what was next.
I don't know. Got a little bit hard to track there. 3-point shootout, phenomenal shooting across the board. Like really competitive field. A lot of same high scores, like 26 for four players. Laurie Markkinen just misses out with 25. Um, I think I think the money ball gimmick now is hurting it. Um, you know, you I know you can't change history here, but what if you just gave them more shots? If you really have to let them have these ridiculous 4-pointers or double ball racks, why don't you just give them more shots at each rack and then you can really ascertain a good shooter or not? But you can't really do much more with this. It is what it is. I didn't like the sudden death. I don't understand why you had a sudden death for four people to trim them down to three people to then do one more round anyway to figure out the winner. Why did they not just have four finalists in the final? It would have been the same amount of shooting, if not less. I didn't get that, but I don't. To be honest with you, I've got no wish list for the 3-point shootout. I've got no tinkering. It's like the only item
Well,
that it is what it is.
if I'm going to pick the most positive event to talk about this weekend, I'd say it's a three-point shootout. Yeah. And you know what? I'll tell you why. I don't know if you remember back in the day when we had the three-point shootout and we had players getting scores like 10. And it's
Mm.
like, is this a three-point shootout or is this a brick fest? Yeah. And I guess at the very least, the fans are seeing three-pointers go in the basket more frequently than not. Maybe, I don't know, let's say 60% clip, give or take, yeah. Maybe even higher for some of the guys that got hot. And I guess that's what you expect to see, what you'd like to see in a three-point shooter. You'd like to see threes being buried. So wherever they're scoring it, wherever you get to choose your money rack and all these little gimmicky stuff, we're not going to go backwards again. That's the reality, right? Because that would be boring. So I guess, keep it as it is, get the best shooters. And this year they did okay because they actually recruited a lineup of fairly significant shooters that were all stars and well-known players. And you had a fairly high quality product. So you know what? 4 stars.
Okay, oh yeah, we're doing star ratings. I feel like I need to backdate mine. Um, then directly following, we had the Steph's versus Sabrina with Steph
Oh
coming
yeah,
out
yeah,
on top.
yeah. Let's go PC on this one, yeah. Let's go. Well,
No, look, you know what? I actually think this is because this was a crossover event.
yep.
This allows us to segue into why can't you have the international players come out? Why can't you have the street ballers come out? Why can't you have other people join the NBA community here and do something specific, right? This is where you could have a dunk off with an NBA player versus a
Wait, wait,
professional
wait. Are we
dunker.
talking about Steph and Sabrina, or are we talking about the dunk contest?
No, I'm talking about Steph and Sabrina, but what I'm saying is this is a crossover event, right? I think it's good promotion for the WNBA. I know there was a huge discussion about her shooting from the women's 3-point
Yeah, she
line and
chose to
all of
shoot
that
from the
stuff.
NBA line, but with an
She
NBA
chose
WNBA ball.
correct. I think she did phenomenal. I think Steph had to really shoot well just to beat her. She qualified for the male finals really with the score that she got. I think it was a good cross promotional thing. I
So,
don't know. I'm worried you don't feel the same, and then you're going to get us
well,
cancelled or something.
here's my hot take, man. The Steph versus Sabrina shootout was a great promotional event. Why are we talking about an advert? Next.
All right, perfect.
Because I think there's nothing more to it. What is there to it? And don't get me wrong, it's nothing wrong with an advert for the WNBA and involving them in the NBA All-Star festivities. But what more would have been achieved here? Let's say Sabrina won. Okay, cool, great. She's a better shooter than Steph in this one event. I don't know. Here's your best outcome. They tied, and then we can all talk about gender equality, and they can share the trophy. Yeah. I don't know, or they'll just have to go to overtime, right? Because someone has to win, right? But I don't know.
We're gonna move on. I don't want to cancel our career before we get going. And then we finish with the main event in which we were graced by the presence of an all-star for the first time in a long time in a dunk contest. So kudos to Jalen Brown for at least getting in there. But um, I'll try to go in order here. Mac McClung wins it again. Probably not as good as he was last year, but again, that's the hard thing. The sequel's never usually better than the original. He had a really cool dunk with the drop the ball then pick it back up very briefly. I think that was quite an impressive dunk. But then he did a lot of the same dunk. He jumped over people a lot.
We see a
Not
lot
to
of people just
critique him.
jumping over people nowadays.
A lot of people just jumping over people because obviously dunks get hard. Jalen Brown really, really creative, had some themes behind his things. I think there was some nice stuff there. And then you had two other players just there for the sake of it. Um, we talk about this every year. We talk about this every year. The dunk contest. You have to get bigger names in there. I'm going to defend Jalen Brown a little bit. I didn't hate Jalen Brown's performance in it, but if you jump on any social media, if you look at how people reacted to that, he didn't deserve to be in the finals. It's a trash dunk contest. He just did a windmill. Like, what's the issue here? You wonder why people don't want to participate. There is nothing to gain out of participating. He doesn't need the money. He's the highest player and he's the highest paid player in the NBA currently. All he got was negative attention when he's out there trying to have fun, put on a show for the fans. Personally, this would be how I'd summarize it, and you could clip this if we had an editor. We don't deserve a good dunk contest because we don't know what we want because we're never happy because we hate the NBA. That's clearly what came out of the dunk contest on Saturday night. But what did you think?
We spoke about this last year, I think 12 months ago, pretty much. And I think I had a very similar take here. Firstly, let's just talk about this year. You sort of said the sequel is never better than the original. Yeah, sure, I'll agree with that. But guess what? When all the other new movies come out, they're not actually better than the sequel. You have a real problem now. Yeah, and it was like, oh, Toppin's in there. Oh, but it's just his brother. Who's his brother? Oh, the guy that averages 2 points a game. Oh, okay, this is his highlight of his career, clearly this weekend. Yeah, that he was featured in these 4 names on this list. Mac McClung, obviously, no sort of disrespect to him that he got a second crown here, but he's not even in the NBA. Like right now, he's a G League player. Yeah, he's not even an NBA, and he's obviously had a chance to defend his crown. But I think that's where we need to probably, or the NBA to be specific, needs to really, again, I'm going to say that, open it up to the world. Yeah, because again, there are dunk contest shows out there. There are other non-NBA players that have high creativity, okay, in regards to their dunks, not just jumping over players, creativity and ability, yeah, that come together. Dunks that you've never seen before on an NBA court. Sure, you'll see it on social media, okay, absolutely, okay, but you have never seen on an NBA court before, pulled off by an NBA professional, okay, because they're just, that's not necessarily what they're getting paid for, yeah, they're getting paid to play basketball specifically, not to throw down the creative dunks that come up with, sometimes, these dunkers come up with. And open up to that. If we're already crowning players that are non-NBA players, then what's the harm in that? Because now you're going to get creativity. You may not, and we will never go back to a player like MJ or Kobe entering the dunk contest. Yeah, that's it. It's just not going to happen unless that guy comes out here and just really just doesn't care about his career and doesn't listen to his advisors or his organization. Everyone tells him, look, mate, don't worry about this 15 seconds of fame. All right, you'd rather look after your career here. What's the risk? What if you actually lose and you don't actually win, and so on and so forth? All right, that would harm your brand, like you mentioned before, and so on and so forth. It's like it's not going to happen. We're not going to get the superstars and all stars that we crave for. Four guys going head to head against each other. So how about we get four of the most creative dunkers in the world? Yeah, that actually can throw down some crazy stuff we've never seen before, at least in an NBA sort of format, an NBA sort of lens. And I don't know. I think that would be much more interesting to to watch.
Yeah, well, I think, moving forward, Mac McClung appears next year. I think that's almost a foregone conclusion. It's hard to imagine what he does now. And the problem is he's going to retire from the dunk contest probably on a low, because you do run out of dunks or you do run out of styles. Like for me, I'm watching him, super impressed the first year. This year, I'm like, oh, he did 3 dunks where he jumped over someone. It was getting a bit repetitive, even though he's doing something that I can't do. And that's the irony, right? We're all sitting on our couch or chair saying, oh, that's not that impressive, when none of us on a mini hoop could even do probably half of what he's doing. It's just, it's a hard spot to be in, and I can see why no one wants to bother with it. And seeing the reaction to Jaylen Brown, I'm not surprised that the dunk contest just struggles. And I don't know where
Let
they
me
go. Opening it up's great, but then it's not NBA dunk contest anymore. So what are we doing? But
let me
after, that's why I talked about the Sabrina thing. With the Sabrina thing, you're doing crossovers now, so you're starting to thread it in. So can you start to import those professional dunkers? Because there are dunk league stuff, and they've had Jordan Kilgannon there in the past before. So why not have him go up against someone or
Yeah,
have them
yeah,
work
absolutely,
together,
absolutely.
pair
And
them with an NBA
there's
player?
other great sort of freestyle dunkers out there that definitely could be called up and invited to showcase them, and they would go out there and showcase them because that would improve their brand. Yeah, and they would
Mm.
want to really put on a show. They would go crazy. They'd probably go, "I'm going to pull off a dunk I've actually never shown the world before." Yeah, something like that. And maybe this is somewhere. I'm not saying that you have to hard write this in, but obviously, people jumping over people is a prop. Yeah, okay, it is a prop. It's a human prop, but it's a prop. Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, man. Like when we saw like VC back then, Dunk in the day, and some of these really memorable all-star dunkers. Yeah, you'd then you watch the clip over and over again, obviously, and then you'd go to the schoolyard and go, man, I'm gonna go between my legs and dunk on this guy and whatnot. Yeah, but here, guess what? Once you add a prop, like even humans, or let's say you add a motorbike or a car, it's not like you can exactly wheel a car, nor are you going to actually stand in front of your mate in the basketball court and go, I'm going to jump over you with any sort of seriousness because everyone knows I can't. Okay, and therefore you can't actually imagine even that imagination for like a 10-year-old kid that hey man I can do this. Yeah, they can't even on that door, that ring on the door at home in their bedroom. Yeah, you can go VC. Yeah, reverse 360 windmill bang. Yeah, wow, between the legs off the bounce. Catch it. Whatever that he threw down all those years ago. But then now you can't really go, oh man, can you stand there to your bro and I'm going to jump over you and he's going to look at you like that ain't going to happen. Yeah, you want me to lie on the ground, but that really loses the whole effect, right? That's the point. I think, again, it's not where we're at now. It's gone to a point where it doesn't translate. It doesn't translate.
I think before we move on, there's a YouTube series called Dunk League where they get a bunch of professional dunkers, and each episode or round is dedicated to a specific type of dunk. So it could be a prop round, it could be a lowered ring round, it could be an off the backboard round. You wonder, can you do that in the NBA where you have like a gimmicky spin wheel, you spin it, then you have to do a dunk from this category, and you're dunking off like that? There's it's funny how they haven't gimmicked the dunk contest. They've basically tinkered everything else on All Star Weekend, but the one thing that everyone collectively agrees isn't good, isn't working, doesn't work most of the time, they haven't touched. They've got to do something, but I don't know how you fix it when you're not going to get big names. But maybe that's the issue. Maybe stop looking at that as your solution. It's not going to happen. So find a different solution.
It's not gonna happen. That's the point.
No.
What's next?
Um, well, we just came up with about 200 different points for the rest of All Star Weekend, and that's a great segue into a game that I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't watched the highlights because I didn't race home from work today, waiting to watch the highlights. Because maybe you've seen it, so tell me if I'm offbeat. I think there's going to be a lot of 3 pointers, and then that's going to be from the logo, and then from the half court, and then if there isn't a 3 pointer, there's a couple of no defense layups and dunks. Maybe there's an alley oop or two, and then in the last couple of minutes, they might have pretended to play defense. And then we got our final score, and then Damian Lillard's the MVP with 11 threes. How'd I go with that?
It's not great. Just like this weekend for the NBA.
Oh,
It's
it was
I
different, was it?
think look. Let me. Do you want spoilers here, or you don't want spoilers? I think you
No,
need
no,
to keep
spoil
it this
everything. Tell
one.
me,
All
tell
right,
me
here
what I
it
missed.
is. Non-censored spoiler edition here. Dame Lillard MVP can shoot from the half court line fairly well. Yeah, and play not shock horror, but now he can actually pull up with his feet behind the line fairly well. Made two of them in the All-Star game. Why does it just not shoot that in a regular season game, man? Here's the play. Everyone go back. Defense goes back. They're not aware. Dame, pull up at the three. No one's going to guard you. If you can make that at a 40% clip, that's not a bad shot. Yeah, just shoot it. So, hey, and you're right. Okay, you're correct about the point. There were a lot of three-pointers. I watched a 2 minute, 3 minute sort of highlight clip on the game, and I don't think I saw more than two or three dunks. Yeah, remember it was all about the dunks. Yeah, about the
Hmm.
creativity, about the dunks. Now it's like who can pull up from further. Yeah, I think a lot of the highlights was Tyrese Halliburton being a home court hero here in Indiana. Made like 10 threes or something like that and had 30 something points, but obviously didn't win MVP. But there was a lot of Tyrese Halliburton shooting threes. Wow, and he got hot. I think he shot fairly well actually beyond the arc. Man, I think and the part that you got woefully wrong was like the scoreline was not even close, so there was no even point to even try in the last 2 minutes. Okay, the scoreline was not close, and I had actually picked the West to win. East came out on top, which probably actually makes some sense if I thought about it a little bit more, because they're probably the younger guys that actually, sort of, it'd be nice to get a W, whereas the old heads be like, whatever, yeah, we don't care, we're just here, we've been here already 10 times, yeah. So no, it's not that interesting. So, yeah, man, I think there's a lot of things that the NBA needs to think about here, and obviously Adam Silver was not happy. I think that's the media that's currently going circulated right now. He was not happy with the lack of change, I guess, to how the game was sort of taken upon. And look, how do we fix this, man? Is that sort of where we're at here? We're sort of brainstorming this ourselves. I don't know. Again, like I said, it's something that has evolved to this point. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight, and you never know these things when you do the first thing, right? You don't see the end picture. No one can because no one has a crystal ball. Okay, but when you start to make changes and change expectations and gimmicks and little things like this and so on and so forth, and rule changes and all these stuff, sort of stuff, it gets to an end point, and we're sort of now at the end point right now, being today, and it's yeah, man, it's just it's a whole different game, it's a whole different product. No one cares. The fan ultimately doesn't care. But yeah, look, if I was gonna make one suggestion here, why not make them into like a playoff format? Yeah, because guess what? Players I think can go, I lost a game. Oh man, I went to All Star Weekend and I lost. Whatever. One team has to win, one team has to lose. Would players be more willing to swallow the pill and say, I lost 4-0? I don't know.
So essentially you think the rookie format on a Friday isn't a terrible format for this kind of All Star game?
No, but the rookie format breaks them down to four different teams, I think, yeah. So I'm saying keep the same teams, but play like, say, let's play like 12-minute games or say 15-minute games. I don't know, whatever the timing would be. And then you're now looking to win All-Star Weekend by getting 4 wins. So you could play anywhere between 4 to 7 of these games.
Well, I think I don't want to play extra games, so I'm already anti it as a player. But
But as a
yeah,
spectator,
look,
you wouldn't be anti. And here's the catch. If you've invested into 6 games already and you're tied 3-3, now you actually have an epic game 7. If you've gone
you would
so
host.
far, if you've gone so far, would you not want to get that fourth? Okay, and this is the part I'm saying that is a NBA player willing to walk away and go, hey, I lost the All-Star Weekend 0-4. I got swept. I don't know. So maybe at least 1 or 2 of those games they go, hell man, I got to get on the board at least. I don't know.
It's an option. I think you worry about playing time. You'd almost have to have the games be like
8 minutes. Make them 8 minutes then.
7, 8 minutes,
Eight
and
minutes.
then if you had to play 7,
Smash
you're
it out.
still playing a 4 minute
Short and
round.
sweet. Smash it out. 8 minutes in. I don't know. Like I said, timing. I don't have that. I haven't thought about long enough about that. You're right. I'm not trying to make this big turn into a 5 hour event. Okay, but I'm saying because again, look, isn't to me really the playoffs and game sevens is what we all crave for, right? Yeah, don't we all create that? Wow, couldn't we create a 3 point game with 2 minutes left in a game 7? There's nothing more charged than that sort of environment and situation. Okay, and I guess if you're going to take that into an All-Star weekend in a mini micro sort of system, then maybe that's something that could be considered because it ain't
Well,
working now.
I think you've almost pitched a perfect amalgamation of what they kind of had. So we went back to a format after having the quarters. So you would win the quarter, and then your score would be put together for the final
That was
quarter.
confusing.
That was probably too confusing, but it also didn't matter if you won the quarter. You could lose 3 quarters but win the game. So what if we merged the two ideas? You play your 4 quarters, you would have to win at least 3 to win the overall game. But your target score, you play to 25 for the first quarter. The first game, game 1 is to 25. You win, 1 on the board. Then you play game 2 to 25, and then it's there. So they're not a set amount of time. There's a tiny bit of competitiveness per game, and then you're accumulating your points for overall. Or you could do 7. We're going to play 7 games to 20. And then it ultimately opens up the minutes. It means that, hey, LeBron's not going to play every single game. Maybe you set some weird rules, like you have to play a new lineup each game, or it can only be 5v5 or something like that. I don't know. But they do have to do something, right? And we
I
may be the
I
people to
look.
solve it with that idea right there.
This idea has basically been one that's been in my head for like an hour. Yeah, so it's really, really fresh. But if you were to sort of press me a bit more here, I think it just keep it simple. I've said that a few times. I think this podcast, right? Keep it simple. And if you think about in the playground, man, when you play over like a lunchtime period or an afternoon, and you like say, let's play, and we play to a target score, obviously because there's no clock in the playground, right? To run the time down. But you play to a target score, someone wins. That's the conclusion. And then you do it again. But when you do it again, you start at 0-0. That's important. I think that
Mm.
simplicity is important because it allows you to reset and stuff like that. So whether you then add rules like you said, maybe you could do things like the coaches, all right, you only get say 1 sub. Yeah, you get only 1 sequence of subs. Okay, so you can only make 1 sub. Whether you sub 1 guy on or 5 guys on, that's up to you. But you only make 1 sub. It's an 8 minute game. If we're talking about say an 8 minute format, so it's a shorter game, 8 minute, 1 sub only. Therefore, you have to sort of strategize a little bit there, or in that sense. And I don't know. And again, maybe you could make a sense where the coaches have to like everyone has to start at least one of these mini games. Okay, so at some point you got to put that, let's say that all-star scrub, yeah, obviously on the sense that they have to actually start in the game, and then you make some decisions on personnel and who you put out there on that 5 to hopefully get you that W, because at the end of the day your team needs to get 4 to win. Um, Look, I don't know. Look, again, you could totally backfire. Maybe a team is up 3-0 and the other team just folds and doesn't care. But then at the same point, that sets a, as you talk about a lot, narrative. What if my team is up 3-0 and then suddenly we won 4 in a row? What a choke for the other conference, right? These are things that created with this best of 7 playoff and final sort of format that are a part, I think, of the excitement of the game.
I think we solved it. I think if we just clip this last bit and we send that off, this is this is our moment to be on the advisory board. So I'm actually excited. it was a really terrible weekend until we came up with the solution. So that's a great way to end it, I think.
It's beautiful, man. I'll make sure I clip this. I believe we got hit with copyright this week as well, so so see you next week.